Alright everybody, I just put a bunch of sinking shrimp pellets here in the native tank, and we're going to see what kind of mayhem we can see on the bottom. I've got little crayfish everywhere, and they were out a lot more, and now that I've put food in the tank it seems like they're all running for cover. I just put a little bit of what I insist on calling flake food, the crisps, and I swirled that through the water column, and a lot of the minnows went crazy on it, and the ones that reached the bottom seemed to bring the crayfish out pretty quickly. So I just put some more serious food that really does sink to the bottom in hopes that it would bring the crayfish out, and I'm really not getting a whole lot of activity from it. Excuse me. There we go, there's a little bit of fighting action. I do on occasion see a crayfish go after a fish. I'll see them raise their claws and run like they're chasing them, and they're going to try to catch them. So I would love to get that on video. You can see, maybe, I don't know if you can see or not, but you can see how there's a mound of dirt and gravel, not dirt, but gravel in front of this cave. And if you look all the way in there, I don't think there's enough light for you to see it, but there is, you can actually see the egg crate plastic I've got lining the bottom of this tank. So that one's burrowed down as deep as it will burrow. I have no idea how deep their burrows go out in the wild, but I would imagine they dig probably extensive burrows and extensive cave systems in the mud and the banks along the sides of streams and rivers. You'll often see small holes right at the water level or just under, and it is not unusual to see these guys coming in and out of them. So that's a pretty big one there in the back. Doesn't really seem to be too interested in what's going on out here in the front, but it has moved my bluegill out of its hiding spot. I got a few of these little minnows swimming around down here on the bottom, rooting off stuff on the, that's made it to the gravel bed, but I'm not really seeing any action or excitement with the crayfish. There's two right there that are face to face. Let's see if these don't get, and here comes a third one. Maybe we'll get a little bit of action between some of them. But of course, now that I'm filming them, we're probably not. See, these little minnows right here are actually working on one of those shrimp pellets. That little thing there moving around on the bottom is just that. And they're doing so well. That large crayfish was right in that cave. I forgot that bluegill just came out and sort of chased everybody away. And I agree with the bulk of the comments I get in regards to that bluegill, that he's just sort of a large, unpleasant fish that we don't really need in this tank. It's just a matter of getting the motivation to get in there one day with the net and scoop him out. But I will be doing that. I also have to coordinate it with my friend that has a pond. I'm not allowed to take that fish and put it back in the wild where I caught it. So I do have a friend that has a pond. I actually have two friends that have a pond now that I'm thinking about it. The other one is more of a water feature type pond, but he stocks it, so I might be able to put some of my fish that I have no more need for, such as that sunfish, in his pond. But at any rate, I do have a pond that I can take it to, so it's just a matter of getting motivated enough to get in there and do it, coordinating with my friend, and getting over there to actually get it all done, in the same day. Because once I scoop it out of there, I'm not going to keep it living in a bucket. I'm going to, pretty much scoop it out, put it in the truck, and head on over. So it's got to be a day that I'm willing to do all that. But it will happen. One day we'll do an update video on this tank, and suddenly there will be no more big big sunfish in there. I don't know if I'm really going to go through with putting the bass in here or not. That's another thing I've sort of reconsidered on. If I do, it will probably be a small bass. I'll do a bass just enough for us to see one. Again, I'm not really sure if that would really be satisfying, though. I think that, again, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see as the summer goes on. But I definitely agree that this tank looks a lot better with the large number of schooling fish in it and the different stuff on the bottom. There's a little bit of crayfish fighting going on. Usually doesn't last too long. One will sort of dominate the other, and you can see the one to the right there up on those rocks is moving away pretty quickly. So that smaller one that was defending its cave there won that battle without really ever having any physical contact. Occasionally it will get brutal. You'll see them locked claws and sort of, it's a tug of war of whoever's the strongest, whoever can flip the other one over. And then quite often it ends in the death of the loser and then the subsequent consumption of the loser. These guys, cannibalization is not unusual at all with crayfish. They definitely kill and eat each other on a regular basis. So we'll see. Sooner or later I will get some interesting activity like that on video. I know that might be a bit gruesome for some people, but I've said this before and I will say this again. I'll probably mention it again in the future. If seeing these crayfish get eaten or kill and attack each other is something that you're a little squeamish with, consider cockroaches. Would you be as, would it upset you as much to see someone stepping on a cockroach? Because a cockroach actually has a more sophisticated nervous system than these crayfish do. So if you're worried about these crayfish, being killed or mistreated or whatever, then you should be even more concerned about the terrible, terrible treatment of cockroaches. I personally am not too worried about the treatment of either, so I don't mind setting these little tanks up just for the interest of watching it. I did have somebody ask me recently, why do I put all these crayfish in there if I know they're just going to fight and kill each other? And that's pretty much the reason. Not to sound morbid, but it's interesting. It's their natural behavior. It's what they do in the wild. They regularly fight and kill and eat each other. And I find that, interesting behavior. So as time goes on, as I've said before, this tank will settle into something that's going to become the permanent tank, and that will probably involve having no more than 2 or 3 crayfish in the tank, and that'll be a sustainable number where they won't really attack and kill each other, although during soft shell periods that's still entirely possible. But again, this is, it's a native tank. This is what these animals do. If any do get killed, I can always replace them. So again, not really a huge concern of mine. I'm really interested to see where this huge one's going. He looks like he's on a mission to go somewhere. And I would imagine if I lived in this tank with him, I'd let him go wherever he wanted. You can see that little one back there sticking his little claws out going, what the hell is that? So this one, as far as I can tell, is the biggest one in the tank. I do, or at least I did, have another really big one like this, but it was missing a claw. So that one's pretty easy to identify, and it's clearly not this one. So I don't know where the one-clawed one has gotten to. I can see small ones all over the place, but I don't see the other great big one like this one. This one is actually the size where this could legitimately do damage to the bluegill in the tank, or the sunfish, whatever you want to call it. I have seen these crayfish really seriously injure large fish. These small ones, they can grab them out of the water, and that's it. They've just grabbed a hold of them. If they grab something large like a sunfish would have enough strength to force its way free, but it's probably going to sustain some serious injury in the process. And I've seen these, pretty much gash open the bellies on much larger fish. I've seen them nip fins off. So they can catch and kill pretty large fish when they, have a mind for it, despite the fact that they have very little in the way of mind, as we just talked about. Anyway, I feel like I've rambled on long enough. I was hoping to see some good action. We got to see a little bit of stuff, and of course this big, huge one here is always impressive, so we'll just end the video having a look at him. So make sure you're subscribed. I will promise you I will get some cool video of these crayfish doing some really interesting natural behavior like attacking and killing each other. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of it. Don't forget, this is my native tank. Thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you real soon on the next one.